Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over the Legionaries Kill Team review, where I'm going over the updated rules for the Kill Team for 3rd edition thanks to Games Workshop. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you find it useful or helpful? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games and Crossfire Games, and then a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And then for this video, once again, all the audio will be correct. There'll just be like my abridged wordings and images on the screen, but I will be reading all the rules correctly just because I can't show them. If there's an error on the screen with the profile, it's just because I've been typing them up. All the audio is correct. But with that all out of the way, let's get on with the review. So for the Legionaries roster, you're still taking security and seek and destroy, so that's unchanged there. And then for your leader operatives, you can still, it's a still 6 operative kill team, but you can either take the Legionary Aspiring Champion with Plasma Pistol or Tainted Bolt Pistol, and then either Power Fist, Power Weapon, Power Maul, or Tainted Chainsword. Then you can take the Chosen with either a Plasma Pistol or Demon Blade, and then either the Tainted Bolt Pistol and Demon Blade, so not really changed there. Then for your 5 Legionary Operatives, you have the Anointed, Balefire Acolyte, Butcher, Icon Bearer with either Bolt Gun or Bolt Pistol and Chainsword, the Shrive Talent, Warrior with either Bolt Gun or Bolt Pistol and Chainsword, and then you've got the Gunner, who all comes with Bolt Pistols, and then they can either take a Flamer, Melter Gun or Plasma Gun, and then you've got the Heavy Gunner, who also has Bolt Pistols and can either have the Heavy Bolter, Missile Launcher, or Reaper Chain Cannon. So you haven't really changed there, which is unsurprising. You're still a dedicated bespoke kill team. For faction roles, you've been freed up quite a bit. Your marks of chaos aren't restricted, so you can take whatever combination you want every game. So whenever you select a Legionary Operative for battle, you must select one of the following keywords for it to have for the battle. Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch are undivided. Each operative's keyword can be different, but a Balefire Acolyte operative cannot have the Khorne keyword. Friendly Legionary Operatives have an additional rule determined by this keyword. In addition, Legionary Ploys have additional benefits for operatives with that relevant keyword. So if you have the Khorne keyword, you have Wrathful Onslaught, so this operative's melee weapons have the severe weapon rule. If you're Nurgle, you have Disgusting Vigor, so whenever normal damage of 3 or more is inflicted upon this operative, well, 1d6, on a 5-up subtract 1 from that inflicted damage. Then you've got Slaanesh, Unnatural Agility, so add 1 inch to this operative's movement stat. Tzeentch is Imperial Guidance. This operative's ranged weapons have the severe weapon rule. And then you've got Undivided, which is Vicious Reavers. Whenever this operative is shooting against or fighting against or retaliating against an enemy operative within 6 inches of it, its weapons have the Ceaseless weapon rule. So Khorne has been buffed. It used to just be +1 damage the first time you fight. Nurgle has been nerfed. It used to be a crit save. Now it's just potentially -1 damage from a normal on a 3-up or on a 5-up. Slaanesh is actually unchanged, so Slaanesh is really good. Tzeentch is changed. It now just gives you severe when you're shooting. It used to give you 1 instance of lethal 5-up, so Tzeentch is actually better. And then Undivided is better. It used to give balance, now gives Ceaseless. So the marks already are quite interesting based on that. Then Astartes, each friendly operative, during each of their activations, it can perform 2 shoot actions or 2 fight actions for free. If it's 2, well, as in like it doesn't cost any CP. If it's 2 shoot actions, a Bolt Pistol or Bolt Gun or Tainted Bolt Pistol must be selected for at least one of them. So you can't double fire your Plasma Gun or Melter Gun or Flamer, only bolt weapons. And then you can counteract regardless of your order, which is a general Astartes rule. So all really good there. For your strategy ploys, you're down to 4 from 10. So Implacable, you can ignore any changes to the stats of friendly operatives from being injured, including their weapon stats. However, if you also have the Nurgle keyword, you worsen the X of the piercing weapon rule by 1, if any. Note that piercing 1 would therefore be ignored. And this is probably why you would take Nurgle into certain kill teams, because you just downgrade or ignore piercing. And spoilers, everyone has 14 wounds. So you become very, very tanky. But it's really good in general. You just ignore being injured. And then if you are Nurgle, you also ignore piercing. Then you've got Quicksilver Speed. Whenever a friendly Legionary Operative is fighting or retaliating, worsening the hit stat of enemy operatives' melee weapons by 1. However, if they're Slaanesh, in addition to this, whenever they're shooting at a friendly slash operative that has performed an action in which has moved, during the turning point, worsen the hit stat of enemy operatives' weapons by 1. In all cases of this ploy, it isn't cumulative with being injured. So basically, if you're in combat normally, your opponent's -1 to hit. And then if you're Slaanesh, if you've moved, they're -1 to hit in shooting as well. So really, really good there. Then you've got Fickle Fates. Whenever a friendly operative is shooting a ready enemy operative, that friendly operative's ranged weapons have the punishing weapon rule. If the weapon already had that weapon rule, i.e. the Reaper Chain Cannon, it has the Relentless weapon rule instead. And then whenever an operative is shooting a ready friendly Tzeentch operative, in the roll defense die step, if you retain any critical successes, you can retain one of your fails as a normal instead of discarding it. So effectively, when you're shooting at ready operatives, you have Punishing, which is very good if you're Tzeentch because you have Severe. So if you're shooting into ready operatives, you automatically turn, if you don't roll any crits, you turn a normal into a crit and then you trigger Punishing. So very, very good. And then Fickle Fates obviously is really decent as Slaanesh, well, as Tzeentch if someone gets like the alpha on you, but I don't really like the Tzeentch benefit. The main Tzeentch benefit is just having Severe on your guns, which stacks with Fickle Fates really well, but only against ready operatives, not expended. Then you have Blood for the Blood God. Whenever a friendly operative excluding Khorne is fighting, the first time you strike in that sequence, you inflict 1 additional damage, which is basically similar how it used to work. But if you're a Khorne Legionary operative, you just get +1 damage to both profiles of your melee weapon. So that is very, very good if you want to run pure power, especially into like other elite teams. So you are down from 10 strategic strategy ploys to 4, but effectively each strategy ploy has 2 different effects. So I like how that works. Implacable is very strong, but also so is Quicksilver Speed. They all are very strong. Technically, you could argue Fickle Fates is the weakest because the opponent has to be ready, but otherwise they're really powerful ploys to have. For Firefight ploys, you're down to 4. You have lost Veterans of the Long War, so that's all gone. You don't get those free rerolls. You've got Unending Bloodshed. So use this Firefight ploy when a friendly Khorne operative is incapacitated while fighting or retaliating. You can strike the enemy operative in that sequence with one of your unresolved successes before it's removed from the kill zone. This is actually better because before you had to roll to hit. Now if you've just got anything left over, you strike again. So very, very good. Malignant Aura has been nerfed, so use this Firefight ploy when a friendly operative with the Nurgle keyword is performing the shoot action when you select a valid target. Until the end of that action, whenever you select a friendly operative and they are shooting an enemy operative within 3 inches of it, including like secondary targets, that friendly operative's ranged weapons have the Piercing 1 weapon rule. So this is situationally good on stuff like bolt guns and flamers, but this used to stack. So if you had AP2, you would effectively have Piercing 3. So they've toned it down a bit, so it's not really that good. I don't think you're ever really going to use Malignant Aura. The only time I can think of is if you are having the flamer and then you hit someone like 3 people within 3 inches of you, or you're a frag grenade doing the same thing. So it has some situational use, but it's no longer as good and, to be fair, broken as it used to be. Then you've got Sickening Captivation. Use this Firefight ploy during a friendly Slaanesh operative's activation. Before or after it performs an action, select an enemy operative visible and within 4 inches of that friendly operative until the end of their operative's next end activation. They are -1 APL. Very good. This used to be 3-inch range. It's been buffed to 4, so very useful for Slaanesh. Then you've got Mutability and Change. Use this Firefight ploy when a friendly Tzeentch operative is activated. Until the end of the operative's activation, you add 1 to their APL stat. So that's been unchanged, and it's very, very powerful because that gives you a 4 APL Space Marine, which you can do a lot of things with. So very, very good there. For your Legionary Aspiring Champion, he has 3 APL, 6-inch move, 3 up save, and 15 wounds. This is the standard profile for your kill team. Everyone else just has 14. He has 15 because he's your leader. He has a plasma pistol, both standard and supercharged, which is 4 attacks, 8 on freeze, 3-5, range 8, piercing 1 for the standard profile, and then 4 attacks, 8 on freeze, 4-5, range 8, hot, lethal 5 up, piercing 1 for the supercharged mode. Has a tainted bolt pistol, which is 4 attacks, hitting on freeze, 3-5, range 8, rending, so very powerful if you are Tzeentch. Then you've got the Power Fist, which is 5 attacks in on 4s, 5-7 brutal. The Power Maul, which is 5 attacks in on 3s, 4-6 shock. The Power Weapon, which is 5 attacks in on 3s, 4-6 lethal 5 up. And then the Tainted Chainsword, which is 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5 rending. It still has In the Eyes of the Gods. Once during each of this operative's activations, if it incapacitates an enemy operative, you add 1 to its APL stat until the end of that activation. So still really good. It gets +1 APL, and with the way how APL generation works now, if you kill someone during your activation, you will go up to 4 APL and can immediately use that. So that's really, really good. He did get nerfed because he used to hit on 2s, but that's a general thing. Your Power Fist is actually quite bad because it used to hit on 3s and now hits on 4s. So you're probably not really taking the Power Fist anymore. But the Aspiring Champion is still very, very good, especially into Horde teams. Then you've got the Legionary Chosen, who has had quite the glow up. It has the Plasma Pistol, which is unchanged, as well as the Tainted Bolt Pistol. And then it has the Demon Blade, which is 5 attacks in on 3s, 4-7 lethal 5 up. This is unchanged, but its special rules have changed. So you have Demonic Aura. Whenever an enemy operative performs a fallback action while within control range of this operative, you can use this rule. If you do roll 1d6 on a free up, that enemy operative cannot perform that action during that activation, and their action points is refunded. This is amazingly powerful. This is really good. Being able to trap someone in combat on a free up is really, really good. It rewards you for charging into multiple operatives and basically hiding in combat in the open. I really like Demonic Aura. Very, very powerful now. Then you've got Soul Gorge. After this operative fights or retaliates, if this operative isn't incapacitated but incapacitated an enemy operative or inflicted critical damage during that sequence, it regains D3 plus 3 lost wounds. This is too much healing, but it's amazing because before he did too little, he only healed like 2 wounds. Now, if he actually kills someone or strikes with a crit, he heals 4 to 6 wounds. I think personally this should just be on a kill, because it doesn't really just make sense that it stabs you with a crit. I would prefer if it killed, just to make it a bit fairer, but I really like the Chosen. I do think the Aspiring Champion is useful, but the Chosen is like just a really good choice into horde teams that chip you down and other elites, because if you make him Khorne, remember he goes to 5-8, but even if he's in the melee ploy, he's either 5 or 8 the first time he strikes. But he's just so good, and the fact he heals so much, once he gets into combat, he becomes almost impossible to deal with, especially if you make him Nurgle. Then you've got the Legionary Anointed, who has free APL, 6-inch move, free up save, 14 wounds, which is the same stat of everyone else now. Has a Bolt Pistol, which is 4 attacks in on freeze, 3-4, range 8. Then a Demonic Claw, which is 5 attacks in on freeze, 4-5 rending. Has Unleash Demon. Once per battle, when this operative is activated, you can use this rule. If you do, until the end of the battle, this operative cannot perform the pickup marker or mission actions, excluding Operate Hatch, so it can still open doors. If it's carrying a marker, it must immediately perform the place marker action for 0 AP, taking precedence over all other rules. While it's unleashed, normal and critical damage of 4, inflict 1 less damage on it, and its Demonic Claw has the ceaseless and lethal 5-up special rules. So it's lost Relentless, and it's lost its Feel No Pain, it's just -1 damage. But the interesting thing, if you take the Anointed as Nurgle, you -1 against normal damage. So if you get hit by a 4 damage attack, it goes to 3 damage. Then you roll the Nurgle effect. So if you roll a 5-up, that 4 damage attack goes down to 2 damage. So you get a lot of mileage out of Nurgle with the Anointed, but the Anointed is still very, very useful and can now open doors. So it can't be trapped on Gallowdark. Very, very good. And interestingly, it can perform unique actions and shooting actions. So it probably shouldn't do either of those, but hilariously, you could have the Legionary Anointed walking around with the portable barricade, throwing grenades and shooting people, just being a menace to try and kill. So that might not last, but it's a very interesting thing that the Anointed can do. Then you've got your Balefire Acolyte. It has a Bolt Pistol and Fell Dagger and Fire Blast and Life Siphon. So Fire Blast is now 4 attacks in on freeze, 3-4, Psychic, Blast 2, Devastating 1, Saturate, and the Devastating 1 is 1 inch. So the interesting thing, that used to be Devastating 2 inches, but it's gone down in range, so you're actually never really triggering the multiple splash against multiple targets unless they've bunched up too much. But Fire Blast is still pretty useful. Having Saturate is nice. Then you've got the Life Siphon, which is 5 attacks in on freeze, 3-3 Psychic, Saturate, Siphon Life. And the Fell Dagger, which is 5 attacks in on freeze, 3-4 Psychic, Rending, Siphon Life. So the Fell Dagger used to do Devastating 2, and it used to be 3-3, but now it's been nerfed. But no, it used to be 3-4, sorry. But it's lost the mortal wounds it does. But Siphon Life has been changed. Whenever this operative is using this weapon, at the start of the roll's attack dice step, you can select 1 friendly Legionary operative visible within 6 of this operative. For each attack dice, you would resolve inflicting that step that does damage. That friendly operative gains 1 lost wound, or D3 if it was a crit. So remember, when if you usually take the Balefire Tzeentch, because then you get severe, and then it stacks with your punishing shooting ploy. But effectively, if you're in a position to shoot and charge, the Balefire has lost its ability to do lots of mortal wound damage and buff itself, but it's now a walking healing piece, because you can either heal itself or heal someone else within 6. So what you can do is shoot someone, pick a friendly operative within 6, and then heal them, and then charge someone, and then heal someone else within 6, or itself. Very, very good. I actually like how the Balefire works. It's no longer as good in terms of an offensive output, but it really helps your team going, especially now everyone's 14 wounds. And that healing stuff, especially when you roll lots of crits or you proc lots of crits in melee with rending, can be devastating to the opponent, especially if you've killed the pieces that could do damage to you. So like, you know, you've charged into a melter gun, you've taken damage for that, but then the Balefire rolls in, kills someone else, and heals you back up. Very, very powerful. Then you've got the Butcher, who has a bolt pistol and a double-handed chain axe. The chain axe is 5 attacks in on force 5/7 brutal. It has devastating onslaught. Whenever this operative is fighting or retaliating, enemy operatives cannot assist, which is unchanged. And then at the end of each enemy operative's activation or counteraction, you can select an enemy operative within 2 inches of the operative. This operative can perform a free charge action, and you can change its orders to engage to do so, but it cannot move more than 2 inches and must end that move within control range of the selected operative. So it's lost its ability to have a 2-inch control range, but it's now 5 attacks on the chain axe. It's gained brutal as well. It's lost innate rerolls, so you are a bit more dicey with how it fights. But this guy is really good into elites, because if you make him Khorne, he goes to 6/8, so he will 2-hit effectively any Space Marine in close combat, because you just do too much damage. And then the interesting thing, what you can also do against Horde teams, this is harder to do, but you could like reposition and dash 9 inches against an expended operative. Then you can, after an opponent's activation, you can use Devastating Onslaught to switch to engage, charge them, then fight them as a counteraction. And then if they are somewhere else that they activate again, you can then use Devastating Onslaught to charge again. So you still have this multi-charge, but it's much slower and harder to do, especially if your opponent spaces out correctly. So the Legionary Butcher is okay. Slightly, it's basically changed. It's a little bit better than it was before, but not amazing. Then the Legionary Gunner has bolt pistols and fists. So fists are 4 attacks in on 3s, 3/4. It can either take a Flamer, which is 4 attacks in on 2s, 3/3, range 8, saturate, torrent 2, or the Melter Gun, which is 4 attacks in on 3s, 6/3, range 6, devastating 4, piercing 2, or the Plasma Gun with standard and then supercharge. Standard is 4 attacks in on 3s, 4/6, piercing 1. Supercharge is 4 attacks in on 3s, 5/6, hot, lethal 5-up, piercing 1. You are always either taking the Melter Gun or the Plasma Gun, and actually I think you take the Melter Gun most of the time, especially into elites, which will be everywhere, but I would still take the Plasma Gun into 8 wound teams or less, because it's still quite useful, especially for charge, fight, shoot, but you're always taking the Gunner most of the time, I think. Then you've got the Heavy Gunner, who has bolt pistol and fist, which I've already covered. The Heavy Bolter has a focused and sweeping profile. Focused is 5 attacks in on 3s, 4/5, heavy reposition only, piercing crits 1. And then it's got the sweeping profile, which is 4 attacks in on 3s, 4/5, heavy reposition only, piercing crits 1, torrent 1. The missile launcher with frag and crack. So the frag is 4 attacks in on 3s, 3/5, blast 2, heavy reposition only. The crack is 4 attacks in on 3s, 5/7, heavy reposition only, piercing 1. Then the Reaper chain cannon has been nerfed quite a bit. It's 5 attacks in on 3s, 3/4, ceaseless, heavy reposition, punishing. And then sweeping, which is 4 attacks in on 3s, 3/4, ceaseless, heavy reposition only, punishing, torrent 2. It is slightly better into hordes, but the thing is, it used to be 6 dice, and then guns that have lost an attack dice go up in damage, so you argue it should be 4/5, but then you realize you'd never take the Heavy Bolter, and because of that, I don't think you really take the Reaper cannon anymore. I've tried using it and haven't had much success. The fact it does get relentless when you're using the, your punishing ploy is nice, and it's technically slightly more situational, better than the Heavy Bolter, but the Tzeentch Heavy Bolter is more damaging now. It's just better. So it's kind of weird. I don't really like taking the Heavy Gunner anymore. And the other thing is, because you can't double shoot with the Heavy Bolter, the biggest change is because you don't have Cumbersome, you now can't charge, fight, and then shoot. So all you can do is just really like reposition 6 inches or 7 inches, shoot someone with your heavy weapon, and then fire a bolt pistol, which doesn't really do too much for the Heavy Gunner. They are kind of quite inefficient now. Then you've got the Icon Bearer, who has had like the biggest glow up. It can take a bolt pistol and chainsword, which is the chainsword 5 attacks in on 3s, 4/5, or a bolt gun and fists, and the bolt gun is 4 attacks in on 3s, 3/4. Fists are 4 attacks in on 3s, 3/4. It has the Icon Bearer rule, so whenever determining control of a marker, treat this operative's APL stat as 1 higher, and it's not a modifier, so it can stack with modifiers. And then, so if you spend a CP, if it's Tzeentch, it goes to 5 APL on a point. And then you've got Favored of the Dark Gods. In the ready step of each strategy phase, if this operative isn't incapacitated, you gain 1 CP. So I already had an icon. I've made a new icon to represent how good the new icon is, because you actually do really need it. You burn through your command points quite quickly, but the Icon Bearer is so good and really flexible. I always take it because it gives +1 command point per turning point. So useful. And it does just have a chainsword or a bolt gun, but I find use from both. It's really, really good. Then you have the Shrive Talon, who has a bolt pistol and flensing blade. So flensing blades are 5 attacks, hit on freeze, 3/5 lethal 5-up, so unchanged. It's got vicious reflexes. Whenever this operative is retaliating, you resolve the first attack dice instead of the attacker. So now it still always resolves first, no matter what. Horrifying dismemberment. Whenever this operative incapacitates an enemy operative while fighting or retaliating, select one enemy operative visible and within 3 inches of either this operative or the incapacitated enemy operative. Subtract 1 from their APL stat until the end of its next activation. So it still affects enemy operatives, and the cool thing is, it used to be from the Shrive Talon, now it's from whoever the Shrive Talon kills, and it still triggers multiple times. So if the Shrive Talon charges in and kills 2 different enemy operatives, it gives 2 other enemy operatives -1 APL. Very, very good, especially if you charge into a third, give one of those -1 APL, so they go to 1 APL. Now they can't fall back from you. Very good. Then you've got Grizzly Mark for 2 action points. Place one of your Grizzly Marker tokens within this operative's control range. Whenever an enemy operative is within 3 inches of your Grizzly Marker, your opponent must spend 1 additional action point for that operative to perform the pickup marker and mission actions. And whenever determining control of a marker, treat the total APL stat of enemy operatives that contest it as 1 lower if at least one of those enemy operatives is within 3 inches of your Grizzly Marker. Note that this isn't a change to an APL stat, so is cumulative with other modifiers, and you can only perform this once per battle, and you cannot perform it while within control range of enemy operatives. So the Grizzly Mark has been unchanged, but the interesting thing is, because you have more freedom turning point 1, you can place it turning point 1, and it's still a 3-inch range, but because you now don't measure from the center, you measure from the edge of markers, it's actually an even bigger range. So the Grizzly Mark is a lot better, and now I really get a lot of usage out of the Shrive Talon, setting this up on like the central objective or my home objective turning point 1. Very, very good. Really, really like it. Good operative. Then you've got your warrior, who can either have a bolt pistol and chainsword or a bolt gun and fists, and their special rule is Infernal Pact. So whenever this operative is activated, you can change its marks of chaos keyword. And I think this makes the Legionary Warrior the best warrior in the game, because you have unlimited flexibility. You can start on Nurgle, turning point 1, spend turning point 1 as Nurgle if you have bolt gun, and then if you have bolt guns, you switch to Tzeentch, shoot, and then when you charge up for turning point 3, you switch to Khorne, or you stay as Nurgle and then switch to Khorne when you want to charge, or switch to Slanesh to move up turning point 1, turning point 2 you switch to Nurgle, and then turning point 3 when you want to kill you switch to Khorne. They are so flexible. I'm actually experimenting running with more than one warrior. They are really, really good, and especially into like horde teams, I find you oddly get more use out of the bolt gun warrior than the gunner sometimes, and definitely the heavy gunner. So the Legionary Warrior, very, very good. For faction equipment, you have warded armor. So as a strategic gambit, select one friendly Legionary operative until the end of the ready step of the next strategy phase. Change that operative save to a 2-up. This is really, really good. So you always take it. Before, they had a situational 2-up save until they failed an armor save. Warded armor is just amazing now. Then you've got Malefic Blades. So friendly operatives have the following melee weapon profile for the battle. Malefic Blade, which is 5 attacks in on freeze, 3/4. So it used to be 3/5, it's now 3/4, but everyone gets this. So it actually once again funnily makes the Butcher really good, because the Butcher with Malefic Blades is quite deadly, but then all your gunners get it. So all of a sudden, if you're running bolt gun warriors, they now have Malefic Blades, so they're 5 attacks in on freeze. They're not 3/5 anymore, but 3/4, and it goes on everyone. So it's very, very useful, especially like if you've taken a Power Fist aspiring champion. Then you've got Tainted Round, so once per turning point, when a friendly operative has performed the shoot action and you select a bolt pistol or bolt gun, you can use this rule. If you do so until the end of that action, that weapon has a rending rule. I really like this into 7 wound teams, horde teams, like even 8 wound teams. Tainted Rounds is surprisingly good. Then you've got Chaos Talismans, strategic gambit, select one of your marks of chaos keyword once during each of their activations. When a friendly Legionary operative has that keyword as shooting, fighting, or retaliating, if you roll 2 or more fails, you can inflict D3 damage on that friendly operative to discard one of them and retain the other as a normal success instead. Note, if that's the shoot action and that damage incapacitates that friendly operative, the action doesn't end. Continue the sequence with your successful attacks. So this is quite limiting, especially if you're taking multiple marks, because you can only pick 1 mark for this effect. Then you take D3 damage, but it's actually pretty good. I still take it, because the great thing is that even if you're shooting and you want someone dead and this Chaos Talisman kills you, it still triggers. So I like the reliability Chaos Talisman offers. So I'm usually taking 3 of these equipment, always the Warded Armor and Malefic Blades. then usually the Chaos Talisman, and then usually either like a support grenade or something else, or maybe Tainted Rounds. It depends on the opponent, but all the equipment is really good. For Operative Selection, this is quite difficult, as what I love about Legionary, they're a super flexible team, and what you take literally can depend on the opponent. If you're into Horde teams, I like the Aspiring Champion, but the Chosen is equally good. Generally, if you're taking the Aspiring Champion, Bolt Pistol and Power Weapon works if you're going Tzeentch, because then you proc the rending more. But remember, if using the Punishing rule, then you can use the Supercharged Plasma Pistol to trigger that as well. But then I also like the Chosen, usually with the Demon, well, always with the Demon Blade, but usually with the Plasma Pistol if I'm not Tzeentch. If I go Tzeentch, then I will take the Bolt Pistol because it's got rending, the Demon Bolt Pistol. Then for Operatives, you're always taking the Anointed. I usually lock him into Nurgle, and I'm always taking the Balefire Acolyte, who is locked into Tzeentch, and I'm always taking the Icon, who either has a bolt gun or a chainsword, and I'm flexing around with that mark. So that gives you 2 Operatives to flex around with. I usually take a Gunner, and then either, like, depending on the opponent, Butcher into some elites, the Shrive Talon into most teams, or an additional warrior, and then like the Gunner, you know, with the Plasma Gun or Melter Gun. But sometimes I take 1 warrior instead, or 2 warriors. It's really flexible, and that's the most difficult thing about this kill team, which makes them hard to play. In addition, with your marks, you need to flex it up, because if you're into a team that has lots of piercing 1 and 2, then you switch to Nurgle, because you just ignore all of that, so it lets you move up safely. If you're into a team that does mostly shooting but doesn't have much piercing or none, then you probably want Slanesh, because when you spend a CP to be -1 to hit after you move, suddenly they're hitting a lot harder on your Operatives. Then also, if you're into like elites, you may want to spec into Khorne, so you more reliably kill them in 1 fight action. And then you've got Tzeentch if you want to win shooting matchups, or playing on Gallo Dark, or even Beta Decima. So the mark situation you really have to think about. I don't find much success with Undivided. Warriors get the most benefit from it, but they can just flick through their marks as they please. I don't really find that Undivided gets that benefit, and it's weird they don't have their own unique ploy. But it's down to you how you want to build them. I have built multiple Operatives. I already had a 14 Operative. I think I've gone up to 24 Operatives for my Legionaries. So they're really fun for me. But that's why I enjoy so much. Outside of all the changes for kill team mechanically, Legionary gives you the most freedom and most flexibility of any kill team I've played. And I find that super enjoyable, which is why it makes select Operatives really hard. And you probably want 2 boxes now, but you can still build them from 1 box. For the Legionary overview, I love this team. They are very powerful. Of course, the ignoring piercing ploy is probably too strong, but when you see the other kill teams, it probably makes sense why they did it. The fact this kill team can be 14 wounds and like 7-inch move is so good. This kill team is really fun. As I covered in the Operative Selection step, this kill team really rewards flexibility and experimentation. You can do so many cool and fun things with this kill team, and it's just really, really good and rewarding, which is really strange because before they were heavily limited by their roster. Now they can just change up marks on the fly. I do think they probably might want to reintroduce mark limits when you select your kill team, but being able to just freely like take stuff is great. And even on the in the kill zone, because they're not fighting together, it makes sense. They're not limited by their marks. They have been nerfed in some ways, so they've lost Veterans of the Long War, so they don't get that re-rolling an attack sequence if they don't do damage, and they've lost Grizzly Trophy, so they are no longer -1 damage. The Balefire is no longer a mortal wounds output, it's just a healing piece, but that's really good for this kill team. But the fun is the experimentation, and this kill team rakes the most use out of warriors because the warriors are so flexible, and that's really cool. I do find that the heavy gunners are quite bad because they can no longer charge, fight, and shoot, and the gunners are also not as great, especially into like 7-wound teams. I'm finding the plasma gun isn't that great, and you're getting more usage out of the bolt guns weirdly, which is really nice because it means the gunners aren't auto take, although you are great into other elite kill teams because you have a very, very deadly melter gun that will likely kill everyone in 4 hits, because it's very likely to roll 4 hits with severe and punishing. This kill team offers a lot of modeling opportunities. As you can see, I've run mine as Horus Heresy Alpha Legionnaires because they're Mark 6 of the same scale as Chaos Space Marine models, and I've been adding more miniatures to them. Like, I've been using so many more models. It's so much more fun. This kill team is a lot of fun to play, and they're very rewarding. They're also quite forgiving, so you still have to be careful with how you deploy and stuff, especially into certain teams like Inquisitorial Agents and other punishing teams, especially Corsairs. But they are very rewarding to play, very, very fun. And like they're great if you're a new player or an experienced player, which mirrors Angels of Death, although they do have a higher skill ceiling because they're more flexible and there's more pieces you can take. Although they have now evolved from, they're still usable as a one-box team, but you now probably want 2 boxes because, as I said, my operative list is now like 24 operatives, but I've gone insane. Don't need to go as insane as me, but I love this kill team. They are probably a bit too strong. Like, as I said, I'd probably tweak the Chosen so it only gets healing from killing, and then probably just maybe tweak the marks a bit in terms of how you mix them. But I think that's fine because of how they work, because before you used to have so many ploys, but when you see the rest of the teams, you'll understand why Legionary are probably like this. But I wouldn't be surprised if they get toned down in the future, but they're so mechanically strong, as in elites in general, because of how the game works for them. They're just a very good kill team, and you're going to have a lot of fun playing them, because I'm having a lot of fun playing them, because they're my kill team. I've been using them. They're so good. They're so much fun. Really, really good. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Do you like it? What do you think of the new Legionaries kill team? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. So I'll just shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the career, I have Tom, Supercow, Steven, Sam, Nick, Mercenary Q, Mr. Meatworld, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Fangzu, Draken, Dave Meets World, Darcy, Dad of Goldens, Chris Cole, and then for my veterans, I have Samja and Ryan, who's running a Rule Zero tournament on the 2nd of November. So thank you for all your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. I am busily painting up more Legionary. I already had a full Legionary roster, but as I've added more, I've built a new banner because I wanted a bigger icon to show it more because I'm using it more. I've made a new Anointed Unleashed, and I've been making some more warriors, all using my Horus Heresy army because it's still in scale. So that's really been a lot of fun modeling because I love the new Mark 6, using a lot of the Horus Heresy Forge World range as well for my characters. Really a lot of fun, and I am loving this kill team. And I hope you enjoy it too, because it's just so much fun to play. But remember, no matter how you do against the Legionaries of the Dark Gods, there's always a chance to win, as long as you can roll a crit.